Hey everyone, it's Dylan with SeaTee Aquatics, and today we're talking about filtration. Filtration is one of the most important things to talk about when discussing saltwater aquariums. In today's video, I'm going to explain the different types of filtration and how they can be applied to your fish tanks at home. The first and most important type of filtration, in my opinion, is biological filtration. Now, to some extent, we have talked about biological filtration in the past when talking about the nitrogen cycle. The nitrogen cycle is the number one source of the biological filtration happening in our reef tanks. Beneficial bacteria gets added to our tank on startup, and this beneficial bacteria grows and populates the surfaces of our tank to help break down waste and waste products from the fish in the tank. These waste products are ammonia, which is then broken down into nitrite and further into nitrate. Another waste product that we tend to measure in our tanks is phosphates. Phosphates tend to not be managed so much through biological filtration, but more so through the next option, which is mechanical filtration. Mechanical filtration is any sort of physical object added to the tank to help clean our tanks. Typically, the most common form of mechanical filtration is going to be either filter socks or a fleece roller. Both of these options get placed into the first chamber of our sump and sometimes even into the back of the aquarium. These mechanical filters allow water to pass through, but small particulates and even larger ones to get trapped within the sock or fleece. Over time, the socks or fleece will become clogged with all of the detritus and free-floating stuff that has been removed from the water and will start to clog up. The socks or fleece can then be removed from the tank in order to remove this from the tank and prevent it from breaking down. Typically, filter socks should be replaced every 3 days, as any of the detritus and material that the filter's socks may have caught will start to break down after 2 to 3 days, and as they break down, they will start to leach nitrates and phosphates back into the water. The filter socks are going to catch everything from small particulate matter to uneaten food, fish poop, and anything in between. That is why mechanical filtration is so important. It tends to polish the water by removing these fine particles. It is super important to make sure that you remove your filter socks on a regular basis and either clean or replace them, as the detritus and food that the filter socks is catching will start to break down within 2 to 3 days, and as it breaks down, it will leach nitrates and phosphates into the water, which we're trying to reduce. Another example of mechanical filtration is something like a protein skimmer. We've not really touched on protein skimmers too much in this series, but it is something that we will go into in the future. A protein skimmer uses mechanical functions in order to remove proteins from the tank. What this means is water and air are mixed together to form foam. In a saltwater tank, this foam gets created due to the small air bubbles getting trapped. These air bubbles will naturally attach to proteins in the water, and then as the bubbles raise to the top and pop, they bring the proteins to the surface with them. As time goes on, these proteins will build up at the top layer and start to travel up the neck of the protein skimmer, in which they can then be collected into the collection cup. These proteins generally break down further into nitrates and phosphates, so using a protein skimmer is another great option to help remove nitrate and phosphates from building up in the system. So now that we have established good biological filtration to help break down the ammonia into nitrites and nitrates, and we have good mechanical filtration to help remove particulates and anything breaking down from the water, the final type of filtration to look at is chemical filtration. Personally, I like to look at chemical filtration last, as I typically find that there are better non-chemical methods to help clean the water before going to something like this, as chemical filtration options can be more stressful to the system, they can be less natural. But not all chemical filtration is unnatural, such as activated carbon or granular ferric oxide. Both of these are somewhat natural in the sense that carbon and GFO naturally occur in nature. They act as absorbents to remove undesirables from the water. If we look at activated carbon, this is something that I like to use from time to time for a few different reasons. The first reason is to help clear up the water. Typically, over time, organics will build up in the system even if you're doing water changes, and this can cause a yellowing of the water. Using activated carbon, this can remove the organics that cause the yellowing and create crystal clear water to make your tank that much nicer to look at. Another reason to use carbon is to help remove any undesirable smells. If you have any smells coming from your fish tank, carbon can help to reduce these. The third and most important reason for using carbon, in my opinion, is to remove medications from the tank. Lots of times, especially in quarantine, we will medicate the tank with the fish in order to help remove diseases and parasites. Some of these medications can be added directly into our reef tanks. Regardless of where they're added, activated carbon is a great option for removing these medications from the water, whether it's from a quarantine tank or your main display tank. Another example of chemical media is something like granular ferric oxide, or GFO. GFO, it is oxidized iron, or granular ferric meaning iron, and oxide meaning oxidized. It's essentially rust, or clumps of rust. This GFO acts as an absorbent for phosphates, making it super beneficial for our tanks if phosphates is a battle for you. Personally, I use GFO on 1 or 2 tanks here, but not all of them, as most of the tanks have such a heavy coral stock that my phosphates are on the lower side because the coral is absorbing most of them. With that being said, there are many other options for chemical filtration, although, as I've stated, I tend to stay away from these unless absolutely required. So there you go. Today, we've gotten to talk about a lot of great options for filtration, starting with biological, moving to mechanical, and finishing with chemical filtration. Hope you enjoyed what you saw, and remember, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications to join us on our journey through the sea. Or drop a comment below and let us know what you thought of the video. Thanks for watching.